Have you ever promised yourself you would change, only to wake up the next morning and choose comfort all over again? You have these big dreams. You imagine what success feels like. You can almost taste it. But every single day, tomorrow, quietly, sneakily, replaces today. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never seems to arrive, does it? This is the story of a young man who lived exactly like that, trapped in a cycle of waiting for the perfect moment, until one single decision, one moment of clarity, changed absolutely everything. In a quiet village, nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, there lived a blacksmith named Ethan. This guy was the real deal. He was strong, incredibly skilled, and had a true gift with iron and fire. The villagers admired his talent, and they would often say that his hands could create anything he could imagine. People saw his potential. They saw the greatness within him. But here's the thing. Talent was not his problem. Ethan's real issue was procrastination. He delayed everything. Every morning, it was the same routine. He would wake up slowly, sip his tea, and just watch the clouds drift by. I'll start later, he would tell himself. The timing isn't right. I'm not feeling it today. Tomorrow will be a better day to start. His workshop, which should have been a vibrant place of creation, was a sad museum of his inaction. Unfinished tools lay scattered on the benches. Half-shaped swords collected dust in the corners, and his hammers and tongs sat silent and cold. Orders from the villagers were piling up. His own dreams were piling up. But Ethan just kept waiting. His best friend, a hard-working farmer named Daniel, saw what was happening and tried to help. He would often visit, and with a gentle tone, he'd say, "Ethan, your gift is being wasted." It's like having a field full of fertile soil, but never planting a single seed. Dreams mean nothing without action, my friend. Ethan would just smile and nod, maybe even offer a quick excuse. But deep down, Daniel's words were starting to hit home. A tiny seed of guilt began to sprout inside him, a nagging feeling that he was letting himself and everyone else down. Weeks turned into a month, and then another. The patience of the village was wearing thin. People needed their tools repaired, their plows sharpened. They couldn't rely on promises forever. And then one day, the village chief, a stern but fair leader, approached Ethan. There was no gentle warning this time. The chief's words were clear and sharp, like the edge of a newly forged blade. "Ethan," he said, his voice firm, "we value your skills, but we cannot live on potential. If you don't change your ways, you will lose your place here. Your forge will be given to someone who will use it." That night was the longest of Ethan's life. He sat alone in his cold, dark workshop, the moonlight casting long shadows over his unfinished work. He looked at the cold iron, the silent anvil. For the very first time, he was forced to confront a painful, undeniable truth. Wanting greatness is easy. Anyone can dream of being a champion. But becoming great, that requires something more. It's not about the want, it's about the work. And he hadn't been doing the work. The chief's ultimatum was the shock he needed. He was at a crossroads. He could either continue down the path of comfort and lose everything, or he could face the fire, both literally and figuratively, and forge a new future for himself. The very next morning, as the sun began to rise, a stranger arrived in the village. He was an old blacksmith named Samuel, a legendary craftsman known not just for his incredible skill, but for his profound wisdom. Word of Ethan's situation had reached him. Samuel walked into the silent workshop, looked around at the signs of neglected talent, and then his eyes settled on Ethan. He didn't scold him. He didn't judge him. He simply said, talent is soft metal. It's valuable, but it's weak and formless on its own. Discipline. Discipline is the hammer that shapes it into something strong and useful. Ethan looked at the old master, ready for a lecture. But Samuel's advice was surprisingly simple. You're waiting to feel motivated, aren't you? Waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning. That's your mistake. Motivation is a fickle friend. It comes and goes. Discipline is what you can rely on. Discipline is about showing up even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. He pointed to a small piece of iron. Don't try to build a castle today. Start small. Commit to 5 minutes, just 5. Heat the iron. Strike it a few times. Then, tomorrow, try for 10. The goal isn't to finish the sword in a day. The goal is to show up every day. It was the most practical advice Ethan had ever heard. No grand speeches, no impossible goals. Just 5 minutes. He decided to try. He fired up the forge. The flames felt foreign, almost hostile. His arms felt heavy as he lifted the hammer. His hands ached with the unfamiliar strain. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to go back to his tea and his clouds. But he remembered Samuel's words. 5 minutes. He pushed through, and at the end of that struggle, a small, simple Tula nail puller was finished. It wasn't a sword. It wasn't a masterpiece. But it was complete. It was real. And it was his. The next day was even harder. The muscle memory of procrastination was strong. The comfort of his old routine called to him. But he showed up again. He forced himself back to the forge, back to the anvil. This time, he managed 10 minutes. Then, the next day, 30. It was a battle every single day. A battle against his own laziness, his own desire for ease. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something started to change. The pile of unfinished work began to shrink. The stack of finished, gleaming tools began to grow. The villagers started coming by, not with complaints, but with smiles. They saw the change. They saw the fire in the forge, and they saw the fire returning to Ethan's eyes. With every finished piece, Ethan's confidence grew. The shame that had haunted him for so long was being replaced by a quiet pride. Weeks turned into months. The 5-minute struggles became hour-long sessions of focused work. What was once a painful act of will was slowly becoming a habit. The rhythm of the hammer became a familiar, comforting sound. He was no longer fighting himself to get to work. The work itself was becoming a part of who he was. One day, Samuel returned. He walked into the workshop, which was now a bustling hub of activity. Sparks flew. The anvil rang, and shelves were lined with finely crafted tools, knives, and swords. Samuel didn't need to inspect the work. He just looked at Ethan, who now stood taller, his eyes clear and focused. The old master smiled a knowing smile. "Do you see the difference now?" Ethan nodded, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "I do." "Motivation fades," Samuel said, his voice gentle but firm. "It's the spark that starts the fire, but it won't keep it burning. Action, discipline, ... That is the fuel. That is what builds a life." From that day on, Ethan wasn't just known for his skill anymore. He was respected for his strength, for his reliability, for his discipline. He had learned the most important lesson of all. The greatest battle we ever face is not against the world or the competition or the challenges that come our way. The greatest battle is against the part of ourselves that whispers, "Wait until tomorrow." The victory isn't in the finished product. It's in the decision to pick up the hammer day after day. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content to help you forge your own path.